disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have to withdraw from the case. To go on the internet and try to publicize this stuff, that's going to create real problems.
Okay.
You can't do it, is what I'm telling you. You cannot do it. I will have to move to withdraw from the case.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay. If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
Okay. If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I have to withdraw from the case. If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have to withdraw from the case. If you all choose to go on the internet and try to publicize this stuff, that's going to create real problems. You can't do it, is what I'm telling you. You cannot do it. I will have to move to withdraw from the case.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay. If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
Okay. If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have to withdraw from the case. If you all choose to go on the internet and try to publicize this stuff, that's going to create real problems.
Okay.
You can't do it, is what I'm telling you. You cannot do it.
This is not another boring podcast from Mustafa through the police body cam. Judge Carol Weimer, you are under the microscope. Today's podcast, we're going to be covering the motion to dismiss, and we're going to be asking questions. We're going to ask, did Officer Chad Mason cut and mute Mustafa's dash camera? Did the prosecutor try to cover up for this officer? Prosecutor Sarah Sammy, is she covering for this officer? Is the presiding judge, Judge Carol Weimer, is he covering up for this officer? What did Judge Carol Weimer rule in the motion to dismiss? It's very telling. How impartial is this judge? Motion to dismiss. We can get to the bottom of if this judge is protecting the county. What we're going to do on this podcast is we're going to dive into this case. But before we dive into this case, we have to get to know the officer. We have to get to know Officer Chad Mason. Who is Officer Chad Mason? Let's get started.
I will have to move to withdraw from the case.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay.
Morning, Chief.
Morning. Just grabbing a little H2O before the next briefing. You know, a lot of good conversations start right here at this cooler. Keeps the department running and hydrated. Now,
Chief, we have a problem.
what's going on?
The Mustafa brothers. One of them got into evidence storage, took the Redfield file.
You're sure?
Caught him on the cameras 10 minutes ago.
Damn it.
Detective Forrester's been trying to track him since.
He knew exactly what he wanted. Folder was gone when I came back from the
All
lab.
right, lock down the exits.
We've lost another body cam node. Pull up the feed.
Found him. It's Mustafa, brother. He has the cams.
Lock down the servers. Now!
He's already inside.
Turn. This is for you, Agent Doyle. Full clip. Don't let them bury it.
Garcia, it's Reed. I need a location on Mustafa, brother, now.
They brought him on a ride-share trace, heading south on East Street, plate ending 068.
Sending coordinates now.
Copy that. Keep the feet up.
I'm moving. Garcia, it's Reed. I need a location on Mustafa, brother, now.
The broadcast talk to me.
Rideshare just dropped him downtown. He's heading for a studio called FM Wave.
Copy that. Put eyes on the block and lock it down. Whatever you do, don't let him air that file on his podcast. Units are en route.
If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cam. Judge Carol Weimer, you are under the microscope. Now, before we dive into this case, and before we get to know Officer Chad Mason, what we're going to do, we're going to cover our local news, our local paper, Inside Nova. Let's find out what is going on around our community. So, the LaToya Crabbe case, 2 years now, and LaToya Crabbe was being charged with murder by the Commonwealth attorney, and she was denied bond multiple times. Now, the county just dropped the charges against LaToya Crabbe. Let's go over to Inside Nova and find out what our local paper is telling us. All right. All right, so Inside Nova. Murder charges dropped. New evidence backs Manassas mother self-defense claim. Prosecutors have dropped all charges against LaToya Crabbe, the Manassas mother of 3, arrested for killing her husband in October 2024. The decision came after investigators uncovered a 5-hour audio recording that supports her claim of self-defense, Prince William County Commonwealth Attorney Amy Ashworth's office said in Friday news release. Our question for Commonwealth Amy Ashworth, it took you 2 years to go through the audio that's on LaToya Crabbe's laptop? You've had it since day one. What changed? Crabbe was indicted last year for second-degree murder and a firearm charge in the October 21st, 2024 death of her husband, 36-year-old Curtis Crabbe. From the start, Crabbe maintained she fired in self-defense, citing a history of threats from her estranged husband, including warning that he would burn down their house and take their children. WTP-TOP News reported. Let's see if this is a news clip. All right, we'll pull up the news clip in a minute. Let's keep reading the article. All right, the case shifted. The case shifted after prosecutors and Manassas police successfully accessed a previously unexamined digital recording, Ashworth's office said. This is a problem. This is a huge problem for the Commonwealth attorney. I mean, this is a problem for the entire Prince William County. You're telling me you brought charges against LaToya Crabbe. You've denied her bond multiple times. 2 years. It's an ongoing case. And after 2 years, you've accessed the laptop? What do you mean it took you 2 years to access the laptop that you were in possession of on day one? Let's keep reading. Prince William County, Commonwealth Amy Ashworth office concluded the audio introduced significant evidence of lawful self-defense, creating enough reasonable doubt to prevent the state from ethically proceeding with the prosecution, the release said. Okay, so it took you 2 years to realize, hey, maybe this is an ethically a problem for me to prosecute this case. 2 years when he had the audio on day one. Following this review, Ashworth office moved to null pros the charges, meaning the charges will not be prosecuted but can be reintroduced at a later time. Let's go over to what the news is telling us. So all over the news. So they're telling you that LaToya Crabbe, the prosecution office, Commonwealth Amy Asher, came out and she said, I reviewed an audio, and based on this audio that I've had since day one, I'm not going to prosecute this case. Why did it take you 2 years to review this audio? Is it that LaToya Crabbe, when she was finally given a bond, went home and threatened you that, hey, Commonwealth Amy Ashworth, if you don't stop prosecuting me with bullshit charges, I'm going to release this audio that you've had since day one? Is that a scenario that we have coming out of Prince William County? That the Commonwealth attorney will not prosecute you, will take your evidence, will sit on your evidence, look the other way, hide behind that it's a sealed case, overlook evidence that you're innocent, but when you do access this evidence and threaten the Commonwealth attorney to release it, she's going to tell you, wait, I'm going to drop the charges. Is that what's coming out of the LaToya Crabbe case? Let's watch what they're telling us all over the news.
And working to get her job back.
In the big story tonight, a stunning reversal. All charges dropped against the Manassas woman accused of murdering her own husband. And tonight, prosecutors say newly uncovered evidence prohibits them from moving forward with a case against LaToya Crabbe. Sydney Persing just sat down with Crabbe's mother. She's in Manassas with everything we know.
Since she was arrested, LaToya Crabbe has maintained she is a victim of domestic violence who shot her husband in self-defense. Now, nearly 2 years later, prosecutors have dropped the murder charge against her, admitting a newly discovered audio recording could support her claim.
Look, she's either guilty or innocent. She's either guilty or innocent. If you're telling me that she's guilty, why are we not prosecuting LaToya Crabbe? Why is she not going to trial and prosecuting her? Now, if she's guilty and our Commonwealth attorney is letting out a guilty person, that's a problem. Which one is it? Is she guilty or is she innocent? You've held her for 2 years. You have ongoing charges of murder for 2 years. So you must have thought she was guilty. After 2 years, you're just going to come out and say, oops, she's innocent. We're going to release her. What changed? You're telling us there's an audio involved. Well, you've had her laptop for 2 years. Why now? Why not 2 years ago? So you're telling me you've had a specific audio that showed that LaToya Crabbe is innocent. But you still prosecuted her. You still held the charges against her for 2 years. You've locked her up. You've denied her bond multiple times. And 2 years later, why? Because LaToya Crabbe is threatening you that she's going to release this audio, that she's in possession of this audio, that she accessed the audio that you, Commonwealth, Amy Ashworth, had since day one. So Amy Ashworth also, and you're like, wait, stop. We're going to release you. But God help you if you talk. If you notice, LaToya Crabbe, you're not going to see her anywhere on the news. You'll hear her mother, but you won't hear LaToya Crabbe. And what are they threatening LaToya Crabbe with? If you talk, we will come after you.
In October 2024, police arrested LaToya Crabbe, a military pharmacist and mom of 3, accused of shooting her husband Curtis dead in their Brinkley Lane home. Today, nearly 22 months later, prosecutors dropped her murder charge.
I just wish they would have did the right thing in the beginning.
LaToya and her mother, Marilyn Martin, always maintained she'd shot Curtis in self-defense. He'd been threatening, they said, after she asked for a divorce. The night of the shooting, LaToya claimed he tried to attack her in the basement, the rest of the family upstairs.
If she had not shot him, she would have been dead. Those children would have been dead. He would have definitely killed me. She definitely saved our lives.
But prosecutors didn't buy that defense, at least not initially. Now, though, they say they've decrypted a 5-hour-long audio recording.
Decrypted? Decrypted an audio that's on her laptop that you've had since day one? What are we talking about?
Off of LaToya's laptop from that night.
We were going to go get a restraining order the next day. So she wanted the recording to back up us getting a restraining order.
Prosecutors didn't say specifically what was on the recording, just that they can't now ethically continue to trial. Marilyn told me she's not heard it yet, but was told what's on it.
You could clearly hear him threatening her and opening the knife, and he's coming towards her, and then you hear a shot.
Marilyn doesn't understand why it took so long for investigators to decrypt the file, but said she believes it sends a clear and dangerous message.
The mother doesn't know why it took Amy Ashworth 22 months for Amy Ashworth to drop the charges. Well, I'll tell that mother what's going on. Well, when you shed light on what's going on in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, and when you shed light on what's going on in Prince William County in general, that you have a Commonwealth attorney, Amy Ashworth, that hides behind sealed cases. The police department will come out, collect all the evidence, and Amy Ashworth is going to come out and seal it. And she seals it so she can mold the case however she wants. What is going on in LaToya Crabbe? What is going on in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? All over the news, they told you that Mustafa crashed the vehicle on purpose. Well, now that the file is leaked, the sealed case is leaked, we're finding out brake failure. We're finding out that Mustafa's foot is on the brake the entire time. We're finding out that the police department is using fake witnesses. We're finding out that officers are falsifying and destroying evidence. That mother, the LaToya Crabbe mother, wants to know what took Amy Ashworth 22 months to drop the charges. Well, ma'am, your daughter accessed her evidence. Your daughter threatened the Commonwealth attorney, Amy Ashworth, that if you prosecute this case, I'm going to release the audio that you've had since day one. You know how terrifying it is that you have to threaten your government official that they're in possession of evidence that you're innocent for them to do the right thing? You want to talk about a safe community? How could you have a safe community when the people in charge, the individuals in charge, are committing the crime? They've had evidence that this lady is innocent since day one. They still locked her up. They've denied her bond multiple times. And they held the charges for 2 years. But they've had evidence that she's innocent since day one.
The survivors, you don't have the right to fight.
Now, should any additional evidence change their mind, prosecutors could try to recharge LaToya. Understandably, she was not up for an interview tonight, but her mother told me she is focused now on healing from this trauma.
Listen to what Denise is telling you. That Commonwealth attorney, if she wants, she can bring the charges. LaToya Crabbe doesn't want to talk. She's nowhere on the news. She doesn't want to talk. Would you not want to talk after the county falsely charge you with a crime, lock you up, hold you in jail, deny you a bond multiple times? Would you not want to talk and tell your story? But here, LaToya Crabbe is not telling her story. Why? Well, the news is telling us. Commonwealth Amy Ashworth says, if you come out against this county and tell your story, we're going to bring the charges back. Is LaToya Crabbe being threatened not to tell her story? Well, absolutely. Let's listen to what the news is telling us one more time.
Now, should any additional evidence change their mind, prosecutors could try to recharge LaToya. Understandably, she was not up for an interview tonight, but her mother told me she is focused now on healing from this trauma, taking care of her 3 kids, and working to get her job back.
The reason they're terrified that we have a podcast here at Prince William County. The reason that they came at us really hard to shut down our podcast is because when we talk about the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, it shed light on what else are they doing in this county. What else is Commonwealth Amy Ashworth doing in this county? I mean, you got the LaToya Crabbe case. You got the Tatiana David case. You got the Juan Campos case. I mean, what they're doing in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case doesn't happen in a vacuum. If you're falsifying a case, that means you've been doing it and you're still doing it. Before we dive into this podcast, what we're going to talk about today is the motion to dismiss. But to really understand the motion to dismiss, we have to get to know the officer involved, Officer Chad Mason. Who is Officer Chad Mason? What do we know about him? What is the history of Chad Mason? What did he do on the scene when he handled Mustafa's dash camera? Mustafa Al-Jazari has a dash camera inside his vehicle. Now, this is a vehicle accident. The county says it's not a car accident. They tell you that this collision is not a vehicle accident. All over the news, they told you that Mustafa crashed his vehicle on purpose. They told you that he murdered his family on purpose. That he didn't do anything to avoid a vehicle accident. Wait a minute. Why is it that the leaked evidence out of his file show that Mustafa's foot was on the brake the entire time? The black box inside the vehicle showed that Mustafa's foot was on the brakes the entire time. A leaked body cam out of Mustafa's sealed file showed that the police inspected Mustafa's vehicle and found brake failure. So Mustafa's foot is on the brakes the entire time trying to stop the vehicle. The vehicle wouldn't stop because there's brake failure. And the police are telling us so. But they sealed off that material. All over the news, they don't tell you that Mustafa's foot was on the brakes. They don't tell you that they found brake failure. As a matter of fact, the police department went as far as falsified Mustafa's statements. Let's go over to the news and hear what NBC4 is telling us about Mustafa.
On 4 tonight, there are new questions being raised in the case of a man charged with murder for a crash that killed his girlfriend and her 5-year-old daughter last year.
He's charged with murder, but his foot was on the brakes the entire time, and the police found brake failure. Oh, but the police department is hiding that information, hiding behind that it's a sealed case. So on the news, they're not going to tell you what they found. They're not going to tell you that they found evidence that this is a vehicle accident, that Mustafa did everything he can to avoid a vehicle accident. They're not going to tell you that.
They come after Prince William's police chief ruled the investigating officer had violated department policy. Northern Virginia Bureau Chief Julie Carey spoke to the driver's defense attorney about why he thinks the finding casts doubt on the case.
Mustafa Al-Jazari has been behind bars for almost a year now, accused of intentionally driving his car into oncoming traffic, a crash that killed Dorothy Fontaine and her 5-year-old daughter, Empress. Initially charged with manslaughter, the charges were later upgraded to second-degree murder. Al-Jazari's family insists the crash was an accident. The defendant's brothers filed an internal affairs complaint with the Prince William County Police, alleging the investigating officer, quote, falsified a portion of his police report to say that the couple was arguing before the crash. Al-Jazari's brother provided a taped version of a phone conversation that contradicted portions of the written police report. Last month, the Al-Jazari family received this brief letter from Prince William Police Chief Peter Newsham reading, "The investigation revealed that Master Police Officer Drum violated department policy. Therefore, appropriate corrective action has been taken."
So on top of his foot being on the brake, on top of police department found brake failure, now what's coming out of the case is that the main investigator falsified Mustafa's statements. What does that mean? The investigator wrote in his police report that Mustafa, you told me you were arguing inside the vehicle. When you listen to the audio, Mustafa never said that. The officer put that in the police reports. So you have the foundation of the case falsified. You, the officer, the main officer, falsified Mustafa's statements.
Al Jazeera hired a new defense attorney, Blake Weiner, who tells me he specializes in police misconduct cases.
The police report talks about my client saying, I know what happened. He didn't say that. The police report also says that they were arguing in the car. He didn't say that. These are not only these material facts and material misrepresentations, they're the foundation of the government's case.
Weiner says without the incriminating statement, there's no proof Al Jazeera crashed the car intentionally. Police will not disclose specifically what led to the finding that the investigating officer violated department policy. Court documents filed by prosecutors say there is other evidence supporting the charges, including dash cam video from the vehicle. But there's no audio on the recording.
You don't find it weird? You don't find it weird? You don't find it odd? How convenient for the prosecution that the audio on the dash camera just goes missing. So wait a minute. So you have an investigator that falsifies Mustafa's statements. And he says, Mustafa, you told me you were arguing inside the vehicle. Wait a minute. Inconveniently for the prosecution, the audio goes missing. Well, we're going to find out. We're going to take you to the scene. We're going to take you to the scene and find out the officer that handled Mustafa's dad. What happened on the scene? What did the officer that handled Mustafa's dash camera on the scene, how did he handle Mustafa's dash camera? There was a motion to dismiss that was filed in Mustafa's case. We're going to go into the transcript and find out what did Officer Chad Mason, the officer that handled Mustafa's dash camera, say? Did he have 4 different stories to how he handled Mustafa's dash camera? Did this officer take possession of Mustafa's dash camera without a warrant? What happened to the chain of custody? Did this officer violate department policy? Is department policy for him was simply to package this dash camera, not touch it, package it, and send it off to digital forensic, and instead he's the one that accessed it? These are all questions that we have for Commonwealth Amy Ashworth about her officer that handled the dash camera, because mysteriously, conveniently, the audio is missing for the prosecution. How convenient. I mean, if I was the prosecutor and I was prosecutor Mustafa, I have one officer that falsifies Mustafa's statements. I have another officer that removes the audio. How convenient for me being a prosecutor. How convenient, Prosecutor Commonwealth Amy Ashworth.
They don't have audio of the dash camera, but here they are telling the public they were arguing. So if they don't have audio, and my client didn't say they're arguing despite the police report saying so, what's their basis? We don't know.
Why?
We don't know. Okay? What's their basis? The foundation of the case has been falsified. That you, Mustafa, told me you were arguing inside the vehicle. Now, the most important motion that was filed in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case is the motion to dismiss. The motion to dismiss focuses on the audio. There's a dash camera in Mustafa's vehicle. Commonwealth Amy Ashworth, we just heard Commonwealth Amy Ashworth, all over the news tell you there is no audio on this dash camera. Now, what we want to find out, what was the motion to dismiss built on? Blake Weiner, 2024, filed a motion to dismiss. Let's go over to what Blake Weiner filed in court. Mustafa's motion to dismiss was built on this case law. California versus Trombetta. This is the foundational case for destroyed evidence that was apparently exculpatory before it was destroyed. Now, Trombetta, California versus Trombetta, the evidence that's being destroyed, Mustafa's lawyer argued in court that the police department, specifically Officer Chad Mason, destroyed the audio on the dash camera. Now, for this motion to get passed, that piece of evidence, which is the audio, has to be important evidence, has to be exculpatory. In legal terms, exculpatory means important. Now, this is a foundational case for destroyed evidence that was apparently exculpatory before it was destroyed. The Supreme Court held that due process required preservation when the evidence had exculpatory value that was apparent before it was destroyed. Now, that's essential because was the dash camera central to finding out what happened in this case? Is the dash camera, well, the dash camera, if we had the audio to this dash camera, would it tell us what happened in this case? Well, listen to the charges. Listen to what they're charging Mustafa with. They're telling you that Mustafa was arguing inside the vehicle and that Mustafa, because he was arguing with his girlfriend, crashed the vehicle. Well, wouldn't you agree if the audio came out, it would tell you if they were arguing or not arguing? So, therefore, the audio is exculpatory. Let's take you directly to the scene. Let's listen and watch what these officers were talking about on the scene. Did they think the audio was exculpatory? This is a body cam that's leaked out of Mustafa's file, where Officer Chad Mason, the officer that's handling Mustafa's dash camera, is talking to the main investigator, Robert Drum, and they're trying to figure out what is happening. What happened? How did this accident happen? Now, the dash camera would tell you exactly what happened.
What you thinking, police?
Trying to find where they spun.
Record. What you thinking, police?
Trying to find where they spun.
Seems like, yeah, that's a smart play.
So this is Officer Chad Mason. This is the officer that has 4 different stories to how he handled Mustafa's dash camera. In the motion to dismiss, under cross-examination, he has 4 different stories to how he handled the dash camera. A dash camera that today has no audio and is cut before impact.
Because the damage is on the right, which caused him to flip that way. So,
and then it finally broke off with soup.
So that's her.
They're coming in sideways. Yep. Gets popped, rotates.
And she just rolls backwards.
So here's the question: which way did they? Because she comes straight, she hits.
She would have turned into it.
She either had come in turn this way.
Okay, so you have 2 officers that are trying to figure out what happened. Okay, you would agree that if you had a dash camera, it would tell you what happened. Now, you would agree that the dash camera is important evidence. In legal term, exculpatory evidence. Because the dash camera would tell us exactly what happened. Therefore, the dash camera is exculpatory. These officers knew the value of this dash camera. Why is it that in the motion to dismiss, Judge Carol Weimer ruled that this dash camera, these officers had no idea the exculpatory value of this dash camera. Therefore, the dash camera and its audio is not important. What do you mean? Did this officer know there's a dash camera on the scene? Well, absolutely. This is another body cam where they're asking about cameras. Specifically, they realize there's a dash camera inside the vehicle.
Yeah, I think.
No, there's this first rotate up there.
How about cameras? We got any cameras? So they have a dash camera on the. We got Target.
Yeah,
Target's a dash cam.
Now, they identified that there's a dash camera. So they're trying to find out what happened. The dash camera will tell you what happened. Therefore, that's important piece of evidence. In legal term, it's exculpatory. And our question for presiding Judge Weimer, is this judge impartial in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case when he ruled in the motion to dismiss that the dash camera is not important? Let's go over to what Judge Carol Weimer ruled in the motion to dismiss. So if you go over to our TikTok channel, Beyond the Metal Bars, there we go. How did the judge classify the audio? Did he classify it as exculpatory, important, or inculpatory, meaning not important? October 31st, 2024, page 117, line 13, Judge Carol Weimer. There is no evidence that I've heard that would indicate that the police, specifically Sergeant Mason and or investigator Drum, or anyone else for that matter, knew or had any reason to know necessarily that they could be destroying evidence or destroying anything. There is also no evidence that there was any exculpatory. We're speculating. Everything is speculation. Maybe. Focus on line 19. There is also no evidence that there was any exculpatory. No exculpatory evidence. The evidence that's in question is the dash camera. We just watched Officer Chad Mason and Officer Drum talk about what happened. And they're trying to figure out how this collision happened. They identified there's a dash camera. You would agree that the dash camera would tell you what happened. Therefore, it's important evidence. Therefore, in legal term, it's exculpatory evidence. So our question is, what does this mean for the judge? Does it show that the judge is not impartial in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? He ruled against the motion to dismiss. Because for the motion to dismiss to go through, Trombetta versus California, when you go back to the case law, California versus Trombetta, the evidence have to be exculpatory. The evidence that the police department is destroying, specifically Officer Chad Mason, has to be exculpatory. Judge Carol Weimer agreed that the evidence was destroyed. But here he's telling you it's not important. The dash camera wouldn't have told you what happened. Really? The dash camera wouldn't tell you how the collision happened? The audio wouldn't tell you if Mustafa and his girlfriend were arguing inside the vehicle? Our bigger question is, did the prosecutor tell the judge that the dash camera and the audio is not important? That they're not exculpatory evidence? And the judge backed her up? What does that mean for the judge? Does this mean that Judge Carol Weimer is impartial in this? Well, absolutely. Absolutely. If he's telling you that the dash camera is not important, if he's telling you the audio is not important, how impartial is this judge? Now, did Judge Carol Weimer at one point issue a protective order on the audio? Was there an independent expert assigned to this dash camera? Did Judge Carol Weimer issue a protective order specifically against the family? The family that's vocal and is telling the community the police department destroyed the audio. So wait a minute. You're telling us that the audio is not important, but you're issuing a a judge order to have an independent expert go in and extract the audio off the SD card that the police department is in possession of. And then you turn around and say, when the audio does come out, I want to make sure that there's a protective order from this audio being released. So not the prosecutor putting the protective order. No, the judge is putting a protective order. Does that show that Judge Carol Weimer is protecting the county that lied and destroyed this piece of evidence? I mean, think about what's happening here. For 3 years, the Commonwealth attorney position is there's no audio. And then evidence that's coming out show that the police department is in possession of the audio. Because what did Officer Zymuth with digital forensic come out and say under cross-examination? She said there is audio. The leaked document out of Mustafa's file showed that Officer Zymuth says there is audio. Okay. So when the judge puts a protective order on the audio, what does that mean? Does that mean that Judge Carol Weimer is protecting the county that lied? I mean, I can understand if the prosecutor is putting a protective order, but the judge is telling you, I want a protective order when the audio comes out. Let's go over to that document. This is Exhibit 2 on our TikTok channel. So if you go to Beyond the Metal Bars, if you go over to Favorites, if you scroll all the way down, there is a post that says, Judge Carol Weimer, judge demanding a protective order. All right. September 16, 2025. What did Judge Weimer say? Line 4, and there would need to be a protective order limiting the disclosure of this to anyone outside the process, including the family. The family that's active in exposing what the police department and the prosecution office is doing in this case. 3 years later, evidence leak come out that there is audio, and now the judge is forced to have an independent expert go in and extract the audio. And what does the judge do for the county? He says, when the audio does come out, I want to make sure that there's a protective order on it from the family. The family that's telling you that the police department is actively destroying evidence. You, the judge, is now protecting that county. I find it interesting. I find it disturbing that in a motion to dismiss, the prosecutor is telling Judge Carol Weimer that the audio is not important, that it's not exculpatory evidence. But then when evidence leak that they've had the audio all along, she tells the judge, Your Honor, before the independent expert go in, I want my independent expert to go in. Wait a minute. I thought you're telling the judge in the motion to dismiss that the audio is not important. Now you want your expert to go in first? Let's go over to Exhibit 4. Titled Chain of Custody and the Stipulation for the Independent Expert. And if you go specifically to page 19, you'll hear Prosecutor Sarah Sammy tell you, Your Honor, the Commonwealth would not have an objection to that specific request as long as our expert is present, is able to verify the item and the process by which the expert intends on extracting this material. And the Commonwealth would also be extracting raw data copy prior to this expert performing their extraction. Look at the date. Look at the date on this motion. September 16, 2025. September 16, 2025. The vehicle accident happened on April 5th, 2023. 2 years later, the prosecution says, I want my expert to go in first. What is your expert going to do when he goes in first? Wait a minute. I thought you said in the motion to dismiss that the audio is not important. Now you want your expert to go in first? Wait a minute. Which expert? Doug Lacey? Doug Lacey that today Mustafa's lawyer has as his expert? So let me get this straight. Mustafa's lawyer, Mustafa's current attorney, the public defender, is using an expert, an independent expert that was hired by the prosecutor. The original independent expert was kicked off, was removed. Felipe Cruz was removed. The independent expert was Felipe Cruz. He was removed. There's a whole entire body cam where he's telling digital forensic, Cassie Zymus, he's telling her, why is there a password on the SD card? Why is this SD card encrypted? Wait a minute. You're talking about a situation where the police department tampered with the metadata on the SD card. That today you have an SD card that has a password. Wait a minute. When you get a digital evidence, you're supposed to you're supposed to copy this material, copy it so that the original data is not, it's not tampered with. It's in its original format. But today, the independent expert that went in with Investa, Felipe Cruz, with a company called Investa, that was hired by Mustafa, went in and he's telling the police department, specifically on a body cam to digital forensic, Kathy Zymuth, he's telling her, this SD card that you've been in possession of has a password. That doesn't happen unless you tampered with the metadata. Now, that independent expert is removed off the case. What they're using today is the independent expert of the prosecution, Doug Lacey. So what is happening today? Is Douglas Lacey, the prosecution expert, posing as the independent expert, going to cover up for this police department? He's not going to talk about the password encryption for the SD card. He's not going to talk about the chain of custody. He's not going to talk about Officer Chad Mason having 4 different stories to how he handled the dash camera. Is Mustafa's lawyer compromised when he's using the independent expert of the prosecution? Does that mean that he's allowing the prosecution to continue to lie in this case? Does Mustafa really have an independent expert when Mustafa's lawyer is using the prosecution independent expert? Is Mustafa's lawyer compromised? Where is Mustafa's lawyer from everything that we're talking about today? Oh, it's a public defender and he's on the payroll of the county. Douglas Lacey. Great. We have an independent expert, but it's originally the prosecution independent expert. They tell you it's okay. The defense attorney always uses independent experts that are used sometime by the prosecution and sometime by the defense. Those experts are interchangeable. Not in this case. Not in a case when you have evidence that the police department is destroying evidence. You don't go around and use the prosecution independent expert. Not in this case. In this case, when you're using the independent experts, you're covering up what the police department is doing. We have a couple of body cams. We're going to take you to the scene. We're going to see how Officer Chad Mason handled Mustafa's dash camera. We're going to go over to the transcript, and we're going to see what Chad Mason is telling us. He has 4 different stories to how he handled Mustafa's dash camera. But before we dive into what Officer Chad Mason did on the scene, I think it's a good idea to get to know Officer Chad Mason. Who is Officer Chad Mason? Is Officer Chad Mason all over the news saving a cat off of a tree? Apparently he is. Let's go over to the news and find out what Officer Chad Mason, this officer has been busy. And this gives you a glimpse of who we're dealing with, what his personality is, who this officer is. This officer wants to be a hero. Let's go over to the news and find out what Officer Chad Mason has been doing. We want to know. We genuinely want to know. Is this officer a hero? Is this officer, is he an honest officer? Is he, do we have evidence that he cut and edited Mustafa's dash camera? These are giant allegations against an officer that's saving a cat off of a tree.
Fire forced a Northern Virginia family out of their home overnight, and tonight they are staying in a hotel.
No one was hurt in this fire on Merrily Way in Woodbridge. Prince William County fire officials tell us that's thanks to a fast-acting neighbor and a police officer who saved the day. News 4's Walter Morris spoke with that police sergeant this evening.
And I was probably about 10 seconds for actually just kicking the door in and trying to get people out. Race to the rescue as a...
What I want you to focus on, we want to know who did he save? Who's the father that he's talking about? Who's the family that he saved? I wonder if we come full circle and find out who we're talking about, just somehow, some way, is at the center of the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. We're just asking questions. We want to know.
Woodbridge home goes up in flames, and according to Prince William County fire officials, the family of 3 and their 2 dogs making it out unharmed thanks to the heroic efforts of a neighbor and Police Sergeant Chad Mason.
So I went to the door, beating on it pretty vigorously with my flashlight in my hand, trying to get him to wake up.
Sergeant Mason reliving the dramatic moments. All quiet at this home on Merrily Way near Ice Court Monday afternoon, but it was a much different scene hours earlier. Prince William County fire officials say something ignited in the garage around 4 a.m. with the family fast asleep inside.
I need to get in there, try and get people out.
Thankfully, Sergeant Mason was on patrol close by when the first radio call went out. He says by the time he pulled up, he could see flames 40 feet high and a neighbor turned Good Samaritan already at work.
She was in the front yard. Her car was actually parked in the street. I think she was trying to blow her horn to try to wake him up.
A few seconds later, the homeowner coming to the door, and within minutes, the couple, their son, and their dogs out of harm's way, warming up in their neighbor's car while firefighters got the flames under control.
The father or husband was really appreciative, came up probably 20 minutes later, shook my hand, really thanked me for helping him, which, it's just part of doing the job. And
Mason, who's been a volunteer firefighter for 23 years, says this is also an important reminder about checking your smoke alarm batteries every 6 months. And he has an important message for everyone watching.
And just reminding people that this is a great illustration of the community effort and how important it is just to help your neighbor.
In Woodbridge, Walter Morris, News 4.
So, Officer Chad Mason is all over the news. From this coverage, we know there's a fire involved, there's a family involved, and there is a father involved. What I find really interesting, and this is going to be a coverage that we're going to come back to. When I'm going through the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, where have I heard that before? That a fire is involved, a father is involved. Where have I heard that coming out of the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? Now, we'll come back to this. Let's see. Where have I heard that one before? Look, we're just asking questions. We want to know, does this fire have anything to do with the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? Let's see. There's a specific body cam. It's talking about a fire. It's talking about a family. Let's see. Does Officer Chad Mason have anything to do?
Well, okay, my daughter, which is, the mother of my grandkids, Kylie called me yesterday crying, and I couldn't even understand what she was saying. Because Kylie's become kind of like part of the family for us, because we know of her situation, and we've kind of taken her in as like a step, daughter, kind of.
Okay.
Well, then their house caught on fire. Kylie was home alone. Caught their house on fire by accident. So the place that they're living now is temporary housing.
Okay.
Until their house is being finished, supposedly.
This is a body cam coming out of Mustafa's file. This is one of the main witnesses that came in, posed as a witness, said a whole bunch of stuff to the police, and now the information that's coming out is everything that she said is a lie. Here, she's talking about a fire. She's talking about a family. And we go over to... where another individual, we're just asking questions. So we're going to go to the forensic interview of what Amy Hodson, we just heard Amy Hodson talk about a fire. Okay. Tell you that there's a fire involved. Let's see if we can find... see, let's go over here. This is the forensic interview of what Amy Hodson was telling us about. There we go. Our question is...
So why...
Our question is, does the fire have anything to do with the individuals that are being brought into the Mustafa Al-Jazari case to lie about Mustafa? Every piece of evidence show that these people have created a story. They have lied about Mustafa. So our question is Chad Mason connected? And is this the fire that's involving these people? Does Officer Chad Mason already know the individuals that are being brought into the Mustafa Al-Jazari case?
What is it that brought you here? Like, why are you here to talk to me today?
Because my dad made me.
Because your dad made you?
Because the detective kept calling him.
Okay. So, what was that about?
I don't know. I assumed that because it was the detective working on the case with my mom.
Her dad. Who is her dad? Her dad is Jason Clapp. Is that the father? Is it the father that shook Officer Mason's hand for saving him out of that fire? I mean, we just heard Amy Hodson on Exhibit 39 talk about the house was set on fire. That this girl, Kylie, set the house on fire. Is Officer Chad Mason the one that saved this family from that fire? We're just asking questions. We're trying to connect the dots. What would motivate Officer Chad Mason to cut and mute Mustafa's dash camera? Did he know these people? Let's go over to... Let's get to know Chad Mason a little bit more. There's a video of Chad Mason on Facebook, and he's telling us about what motivates him into being a police officer. Let's listen to that video. And we're getting to know Chad Mason. We want to get to know who Officer Chad Mason is before we dive into what he's done in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case.
I'm Investigator Mason. The reason I wear the badge is to protect the public. That might sound like a cliche, but when I go out here and do a commercial motor vehicle inspection or work a crash, I'm preventing someone from getting hurt. Or if I'm out here working a crash or a fatality, well, especially a fatality, I'm out here getting justice, not just for the victim, but for their families. And that's why I wear a badge.
That's why I wear a badge. Why do you wear a badge? Because he wants justice, not just for the victim, for the family. Our question is the family the one you saved out of a burning house? That's a fair question. I mean, nowhere on the news are we getting the answer. What's coming out of Mustafa's file is that Amy Hodgson is talking about a fire. We want to know if you're connected to this case in any way. The reason you wear a badge is because you want to get justice for... The reason that you wear a badge is because you want to get justice. Not just for the victim, for its family. We want to know if you knew the family before the car accident. Now, on the scene, what the police department have done is, on the scene, immediately, officers that showed up is Officer Casey Fine. That's what happened on the scene. Casey Fine shows up, and he says, knowing him, he's on drugs. So turn the vehicle from a vehicle accident to that this is a DUI. Officer Casey Fine, this officer, turns out that he knows this girl. This is Dorothy's 16-year-old daughter. She doesn't live with her, she lives with her dad. Separated by CPS, lives with her dad, the ex-husband of Dorothy. Jason Clapp, this guy. So the timeline, let's see if we go over to Jason Clapp. Let's turn this off. Hang on 1 second, bear with me. There we go. There we go. All right. So, this officer shows up and steers the whole entire case from it being a vehicle accident to where it's now a DUI.
45-20, that'll be 3. I'm already here. And then Mason and Wilhelm are on their way. All right, sir.
Take pictures while you do anything else?
No, we'll figure out where the bodies are going in a minute. Witnesses, anybody say what happened?
Yeah, there's a lady right over here in the black. She saw everything.
Okay.
I believe. This car is the at fault. This was the driver of that vehicle. Okay.
Thank you. So at fault so far. Crossed over when oncoming traffic?
I'm not 100% sure. Knowing him though, it's probably drug related.
Okay.
Knowing him is probably drug related.
Knowing him though, it's probably drug related.
Okay. If that's the case, I want somebody to go get a blood draw.
Changes the whole entire case from it being a vehicle accident to that now it's a DUI. Now, our question is, what motivated Officer Chad Mason to cut and edit Mustafa's dash camera? In the motion to dismiss, he has 4 different stories. This officer on the scene, as soon as he shows up, he says knowing him is drug related. Mustafa's toxicology comes out and shows no alcohol, no drugs. Why is this officer inserting this bias into this vehicle as soon as he shows up? Well, you find out that this officer...
I want somebody to go get a blood...
This officer,
knowing him, though...
Casey Fines. Officer Casey Fines 1 month before the vehicle accident, responded to a 911 call. The 911 call was made by Dorothy, 16-year-old daughter.
Did you?
That's Kylie Clapp. She made a 911 call to the police that Mustafa was abusing her mom, that Mustafa was abusing the kids, that Mustafa was on drugs. And the officer that showed up is Officer Casey Fines. Now, his police report, when he showed up, he said, the drug allegation is unfounded. The children are well taken care of. And there is no abuse. These allegations are unfounded. That's what Casey Fine and Officer Duplessis reports show when they showed up. Why is it that on the scene, he's telling the main investigator, knowing him, he's on drugs? Well, your reports show that all these allegations were unfounded. Why is it that on the scene, you're saying something else? A Brady motion was filed at one point in 2025. This accident happened in April 5th, 2023. Officer Casey Fine, as soon as he shows up, he inserts that bias. So a Brady motion was filed in 2025. And specifically for what Officer Fine is saying. Why did he insert that bias? Where is that coming from? Mustafa has no criminal history. Mustafa does not have a history of drugs. Where is that coming from? Prosecutor Sarah Sammy at the time in court stood up and says she was terrified. She says, Your Honor, this is coming from Mustafa Stafford, Mustafa's lawsuit. Mustafa has a $500,000 lawsuit against the police before the vehicle accident. Prosecutor Sarah got up and lied to the judge. Prosecutor Sarah Sammy, it's not coming from the lawsuit. Prosecutor, it's not coming from the lawsuit, sweetheart. Officer Casey Fine is connected to Kylie. And his allegations, he said, were unfounded. So why is it on the scene he's lying to the main investigator, steering the investigation to where now it's a DUI? And when Mustafa's toxicology report comes out and it shows no alcohol and no drugs, what the police department does, they bring in Kylie. They brought in Kylie. The same person that you found that the allegations were unfounded. And now Kylie is sitting in a forensic interview and is telling the police every negative thing in the book. That the police know she's lying to them. Everything that Kylie said in the forensic interview, evidence showed that she's lying to them. But the police allowed her to come in and lie about Mustafa and build a whole story. I mean, where is this whole story coming from? It's coming from Kylie. It's coming from Amy Hodson, who says, I'm getting my story from Kylie. The audio earlier that you listened to with the fire, that's Exhibit 39. Amy Hodson say, I didn't see anything. I'm getting it from Kylie. Well, the problem for the prosecution, this forensic interview leaked, and Kylie is so dumb. She's telling the police after she created the story, she said, I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. That's called hearsay. And the prosecutor knows that. So you're telling me for 4 years, you've held a man in jail. You've denied him bond over individuals that you know is lying to you? Evidence showed that this is a car accident, and the people that you're allowing in, you know they're lying to you. You have evidence that they're lying to you. We're going to go through this forensic interview, and I've dissected it into 75 short clips. We're going to dissect this forensic interview. Now that it leaked, we get to ask questions. Prosecutor Sarah Sammy, are you using witnesses that lied? That you know and you have evidence that are lying to you. And the question is why? Why did the police department bring in individuals knowing that they're lying to them. Does Mustafa's lawsuit against the police have anything to do with the police doesn't care to bring in individuals to lie about you? What motivated Officer Chad Mason to cut and mute Mustafa's dash camera? In a motion to dismiss, he wants to be a hero. You heard Officer Chad Mason. He's telling you, the reason I wear a badge is for the victim, and not just for the victim, for the family. Officer Chad Mason believes that Mustafa is guilty. Therefore, he's the judge and the prosecution. So what he's going to do, he's going to cut the dash camera. He's going to remove the audio because he believes that Mustafa is guilty. He's not going to wait for court. He's not going to wait for the evidence to be examined. He's going to take matter into his own hands. He's going to mold the evidence for the prosecution to get Mustafa convicted. How convenient for the prosecutor that one officer falsifies your statement. If you remember in the beginning of the podcast, all over the news, evidence showed that Officer Drum, Robert Drum, falsified Mustafa's statement. He said, you, Mustafa, told me you were arguing inside the vehicle, only for Officer Chad Mason, Captain Save-A-Ho, is going to come in, remove the audio, and cut this dash camera. How convenient for our prosecutor. One officer tells her Mustafa told me he was arguing inside the vehicle. Another officer removes the audio. Therefore, it's an open and shut case for the prosecution. How convenient for a prosecutor, Sarah Sammy. The question that we have for Mustafa's lawyer is, where is the body cam of Officer Chad Mason? Let's go over to the scene and see if this officer is captured inside Mustafa's vehicle. Is he wearing a body-worn camera? Is he captured from another officer body cam inside Mustafa's vehicle? Is he wearing a body-worn camera?
Do your thing.
This is Officer Robert Drum, where Officer Robert Drum, by the way, Officer Robert Drum body cams, most of them are missing out of Mustafa's file, and that's exculpatory evidence. We logged, have to check my notes, about 13, 14 body cams that are missing from Mustafa's file for Officer Robert Drum alone. Where are they? Why have they not been turned over to the defense? Remember, Sarah, prosecutor Sarah Sammy, what did the judge tell you? If you withhold exculpatory evidence, he has no problem dismissing the case. That's in your notes. That's the email that you sent to everybody. So, my advice to you, prosecutor, is that you turn over all the body cams before the judge that's been protecting you for 4 years has no option but to dismiss the case. Hey, just giving you an advice. This is Officer Robert Drum capturing Officer Chad Mason hovering around and inside Mustafa's vehicle. This is Officer Chad Mason. What is he doing here? What is Officer Chad Mason doing here? You might say he's taking pictures. He's holding a camera. He's taking pictures. There are no pictures in Mustafa's file. There are no pictures inside the vehicle that show us the condition of the dash camera in Mustafa's file. So, what is Officer Chad Mason doing here? He's clearly wearing a body cam. Now, Officer Chad Mason, at a later body cam on the scene, he says, oh, there we go. Why does he look nervous? Why does Officer Chad Mason look so nervous? Let's rewind that one more time. I mean, what are you doing inside the vehicle? Is it possible that you're cutting a wire to the dash camera? I mean, on a later body cam, he's telling us the wire is cut. What an alibi. What a beautiful alibi to why the audio is removed. Let's watch that body cam.
You got a thing?
No, there's this first rotate up there.
How about cameras? We got any cameras?
So they have a dash camera on the
We got
car.
Target.
Yeah,
Target's a dash cam.
There's a
Target's
dash
going to pick up big time.
Is it still running?
Can't. No, the cable's broke. So it could be. I don't know if it was broke before or broke now, but it's broke. I am starving like motherfucker.
I'll get you some food in a minute.
The cable is broke. I'm starving like a motherfucker. You have a major vehicle accident. Mustafa's family is in critical condition. Mustafa's in a coma. You have Mustafa being helicoptered to the hospital. A major vehicle accident. And you have a dash camera inside the car. Oh, but the wire is broke. Oh, I'm fucking hungry. Changes the whole conversation. Well, let's go back to you're clearly wearing a body cam.
We got Target.
This is your body cam. Clearly, you are wearing a body cam.
Yeah, Target's a dash cam. Target's going to pick up big time.
Is it still running?
Can't. No, the cable's
Clearly,
broke.
you're wearing a body
So
cam.
it could be. I don't know if it was broke before or broke now.
A body-worn camera. That's your body cam. Why is your body cam missing out of the file? Let's go back to earlier when you were hovering around the vehicle. You want to tell us the wire is broke. Well, where's the wire? Shouldn't Mustafa's independent expert be examining that wire to see if the wire is pulled, is cut, is sliced? Because we can find out. Did you cut that wire? Did you slice that wire? We can find out. Where's the wire? What's the mystery around the wire? That's a piece of evidence that's going to get to the bottom of what happened to what you're telling us happened. You're saying the wire is cut. You're so nervous here. What are you doing to Mustafa's dash camera? Better yet, where's your fucking body cam? You're wearing a body cam, and we know the body cam is on because that's what you're telling the main investigator.
He says he doesn't remember anything. He says he's in a car crash. That's it. I said, should be drugs or drug today? He said no. It's on camera.
It's on camera.
It's on camera. It's on camera.
So we know your body cam is rolling. Where is your body cam? I mean, this is what did Officer Chad Mason cut Mustafa's wire? That's a really good question. Where's the wire? Where's the body cam? Is this what we're watching coming out of my
recorded? The dash cam's still rolling. Not anymore. Let's clear the scene. Not for long. Recorded.
I mean, can you blame me for coming to this conclusion? Watching the body cam when he says the wire is cut. Watching when he's so nervous when he's inside Mustafa's vehicle. Watching that the body cam is nowhere to be found in Mustafa's file. The police department and the prosecution office is withholding Chad Mason's body cam. Show us what happened and how he handled Mustafa's body cam. And it gets even worse when, on their cross-examination, Officer Chad Mason is telling us 4 different stories. First, he says that the dash camera never left Mustafa's vehicle before they got a warrant. That's on page 15 in a motion to dismiss. On page 17, he changes the story. He says the dash camera was taken back to the vehicle. On page 22, Officer Chad Mason has a third story. He said the dash camera was taken back to the department. Which one is it? Story number 4, he says another officer gave it to me back at the department. Which one is it? Did it not leave the vehicle before you got a warrant? Did you take it back to your vehicle? Did you take it back to the department? Or did an officer give it back to you at the department? Are you lying then or are you lying now? Which story? What happened to this dash camera? I mean, today we're watching a dash camera that has no audio and it's cut before impact, and there are 17 frames missing from inside the vehicle. This dash camera sees the outside and it sees the inside. What happened to this dash camera? Let's go over to the transcript on page 15. So this is page 15.
So you obtained a search warrant?
I'm sorry?
Did you obtain a search warrant?
Not that evening.
At any point, did you remove the dash camera from the vehicle?
Not that evening.
When did you obtain a search warrant?
In the day or days following.
And between the time that the crash occurred and you eventually obtained a search warrant, did you ever, or did anybody remove the dash camera from the vehicle?
No.
Eventually, did you obtain a search warrant?
Yes.
And when you obtained the search warrant, did you then eventually remove the dash camera from the vehicle?
Yes.
Do you remember what day that was?
I couldn't remember, sir.
Do you remember the day of the accident or the crash?
It was in April. I can't give you the exact date off the top of my head.
So this is page 15. And here, Chad Mason, you hear Chad Mason tell you that the dash camera never left Mustafa's vehicle before they got a warrant. Why is it that on page 17, page 22, page 24, he has 3 different stories? He took it back to the car, he took it back to the department, and then he says, another officer gave me this data. Which one is it? Did it not leave the vehicle before you got a warrant? Or you have 4 different stories? If you go over to, let's go over to Exhibit 20, page 15. This is titled, Did Mason Testify the Dash Camera Never Left Mustafa's Vehicle Before a Warrant? Page 15, line 10. And between, so Mustafa's lawyer, Blake, this is October 31st, 2024. And between the time that the crash occurred and you eventually obtained a search warrant, did you ever or did anybody remove the dash camera from the vehicle? Officer Chad Mason says, no. No one removed this dash camera. Why is it that on page 17, Officer Chad Mason is telling us, line 12, page 17, October 31st, 2024. Officer Chad Mason says, I photographed it and then removed it, and then it was taken back to my vehicle. Photographed it, and then it was taken back to my vehicle. Well, on page 22, wait a minute. You said that it was never removed before you got a warrant. But here you're telling us, no, you took it back to your car. On page 22, you're telling us it was returned to my department to see if there was actually files on the car. It was taken back to your department? So wait, was never removed out of the vehicle before you got a warrant. Page 17, you're telling us you took it back to your car. Now you're taking it back to the... Which one is it? Did you take it back to your car or did you take it back to the department? Are you lying to us on page 17 or are you lying to us on page 22 or are you lying to us on page 15? Page 24, the story changes completely. Officer Chad Mason tells you Lieutenant Peake had the camera, but it was transported by another investigator. What happened to Mustafa's dash camera? Today you have a dash camera that's cut before impact, has 17 frames missing from inside the vehicle, and has no audio. What happened to Mustafa's dash camera? The officer that handled this dash camera is Officer Chad Mason. He has 4 different stories. And it gets worse. In every story, he never got a warrant. So what happened to the chain of custody? If you're handling this dash camera, you took it back to your car, you took it back to the department, you took it back to your fucking mother. If you took it back without a warrant, that's a problem. You broke the chain of custody. And if the chain of custody is broken, you can no longer authenticate this piece of evidence. The piece of evidence that today has no audio and is cut before impact. It gets even worse because apparently this officer is talking about that he went as far as broke department policy. What does that mean, broke department policy? When you show up on scene, you have the dash camera. You're supposed to package this dash camera and send it off to digital forensic. Officer Chad Mason didn't do that. Officer Chad Mason is telling you on page 17 that I took it back to my car. From the digital evidence that we have, the metadata for evidence.com, where the evidence was uploaded, he's the officer that uploaded the evidence. His job was to package this dash camera, send it off to digital forensic so that digital forensic can paste, copy, preserve the original videos on this dash camera, copy it into another file so that the original evidence is preserved. Well, Officer Chad Mason didn't do that. No, Officer Chad Mason is accessing this dash camera on the scene. He said, I took the SD card, put it in the computer, and he's the one that uploaded it to the server. His job is not to upload it to the server. Officer Cassie Zymus' job is to upload it to the server. I've got a question for Mustafa's defense attorney. How is it that today you're using the files that were uploaded to the server by Officer Chad Mason? Officer Chad Mason is not authorized to upload these files to the server. According to Officer Cassie Zymus, digital forensic, that he doesn't even have the proper codes to upload it. So how did he upload it to the server? You have a dash camera that's uploaded without audio. You have a dash camera that's cut before impact. So if Officer Chad Mason is the one that uploaded to the server, how is everybody using those uploads today in this case? Well, clearly, this officer is not authorized to upload them to the server because department policy is supposed to package this dash camera, send it to digital forensic. Digital forensic knows how to handle this dash camera. You have this officer that tells you, this is what he's telling you. He's telling you, I don't even have experience in handling digital evidence. Really? That's what he said in the motion to dismiss. Interesting. Mustafa's lawyer today is using the same uploads from what officer? An officer that uploaded that's not authorized to upload them to the server. And then when digital forensic finally got her hand on this dash camera, she said, wait, there is audio here. And this is in a document that's leaked out of this file. And she said that on the stand in the motion to dismiss. And that's why when this leaked, the judge has no option but to have and authorize an independent expert to go into and download the file. Except Judge Weimer wants to put a protective order from the family. Judge Weimer, we're all watching what you're doing in this case, and it stinks. An audio that's cut by the police department. You go as far as you say, not the prosecutor, the judge says, I want a protective order from the family that's telling you that the police department cut the audio. The audio that today information is coming out that there is audio. You gave an order for an independent expert to go in and extract the audio, but you want a protective order. Let's protect this county that lied about there is no audio on this dash camera. What is that show about the judge? What is that show about Judge Carol Weimer? Is he impartial in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, or is his main concern to protect the county that falsified this case? We go back to what Officer Chad Mason is telling us. You know, getting to know Officer Chad Mason is vital to understanding what is going on in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. We want to know who this officer is. I mean, Officer Chad Mason is an officer that wants to prove himself. Take a hard look at this officer. He wants to be a hero. What is that show that we used to watch growing up? Family Matters. Doesn't he remind you? I mean, he would be perfect for a double on Family Matters. He wants to prove himself. He wants to get justice for not just the family, not just for the victim, the family. Officer Chad Mason is out saving a cat off of a tree. And when he believes that you're guilty, he's going to take matters into his own hands. Even if he has to cut a wire, even if he has to destroy an audio, even if he has to edit your dash camera, Officer Chad Mason will take matters into his own hand. Well, Officer Chad Mason, we're all watching what you've done on the scene, and we're waiting for your body cam. But I remind you, Mustafa has a brother that not only accessed the sealed file, but accessed the server. What is the one thing that Robert Drum wanted to know when he called Rexon? Officer Robert Drum wanted to know if this dash camera could be accessed from somewhere else. Well, can't wait for that day where a specific piece of evidence will be released to show exactly what this police department is hiding. Officer Chad Mason, you thought you cut the audio. Well, I've got a surprise for you. We're going to end it here. I want to thank everybody for being here. This is not another boring podcast. We're going to continue to go through the material that's being leaked out of this case. I want to thank everybody for being here. Farah, I love you, ma'am. Thank you for being here. I want to thank the mother of Mustafa. I want to thank everybody that's following and supporting and exposing what's coming out of the Prince William County. I want to congratulate LaToya Crabbe for coming back home, and what happened to her just is a glimpse of what Commonwealth Amy Ashworth is doing in Prince William County. We're going to keep shedding light on what's coming out of the Mustafa Al-Jazari case and what's coming out of Prince William County in general. Things like this don't happen in a vacuum. I want to thank everybody for being here. This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cams. Judge Carol Weimer, you are under the microscope.
If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
Okay? If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have to withdraw from the case. If you all choose to go on the internet and try to publicize this stuff, that's going to create real problems.
Okay.
You can't do it, is what I'm telling you. You cannot do it. I will have to move to withdraw from the case.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay. If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
Okay. If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have to withdraw from the case. If you all choose to go on the internet and try to publicize this stuff, that's going to create real problems.
Okay.
You can't do it, is what I'm telling you. You cannot do it. I will have to move to withdraw from the case.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay. If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
Okay. If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have to withdraw from the case. If you all choose to go on the internet and try to publicize this stuff, that's going to create real problems.
Okay.
You can't do it, is what I'm telling you. You cannot do it. I will have to move to withdraw from the